Good morning, crypto Twitter, it's Misty Crypto, spreading crypto with doctors showing its benefits to my generation. Shout out to all my people, Jesse needs to be included, it's really that simple. We are savage, amazeball, zesty, making money at the same time, spread peace. I feel empty if you don't include Gen Z, about to change the world, so y'all better get ready. Misty Crypto, I'm never backing down, I got a wax account, you should check it out. So many NFTs, I think I lost count, and I'm only getting started. Yeah, I'm barely off the ground. NFT crypto, you cannot stop me. My hands are made from diamond, your hands fall like origami. Never be the boss of me. Bitcoin's all I need. When I say I'm zesty, that's just me talking all this crypto and yum farm marketplace. I wanna see the more we gotta go through cyberspace. Leave this world without a trace. Stay faithful for a different day, 'cause we partners in the cryptos didn't stay.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Miss Teen Crypto Show. I hope you guys are having a lovely Tuesday. If I know I'm feeling the zest, it's like a little rainy outside here in New York. It's putting me in a little bit of a damper mood, but now that I have our zesty guest here, I have you guys in the chat, it's making me really happy. So if you guys are happy, if you're new to the channel, what's up? My name's Miss Teen Crypto. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the stream out with friends so that everyone can join and have the zesty vibes. I'm going to give away some NFTs throughout the show, so always be ready for that. Also, shout out to our sponsor, Wax Blockchain, absolutely killing the game as usual. I'll be giving away those Wax NFTs today. There's one in the chat right now. But let's talk to our zesty guest today, the one and only Brycent. What's up? How are you?
What's going on? I feel great. Excited to be here. You have a really strong community. You've been building. I mean, you've been in crypto longer than I've been in crypto. You've been in crypto longer than I've been alive, besides the fact that I'm actually older than you. So it's cool to come on this show, chat with you about crypto, gaming, everything in between. And yeah, you guys have it a little rainy up in NYC. It's not kind of my feel. Everything smells like, rotten pizza on the street because of all the trash. But down in Miami, it's a bit warmer on these sides. The pastures are a little bit greener. I'm not going to flex too much, but how have you been?
I mean, I'm all right. I'm chilling. Like I said, it's like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but when it rains outside, it kind of just like slows down your day a little bit, and you kind of like, you match the rain's energy, which is a little gray. Yeah,
no, of course. And that's one thing I will say I love about like the NYC area. You get the dreary days and you actually get to feel that emotionally.
Yes.
In Miami, if you're sad, bro, no one cares. No one knows. No one else is sad with you. It's always sunny. So you just got to be happy and wagami all the time.
I know. I mean, Miami's a nice spot. Did you recently move to Miami, or you've always been down there?
I recently moved. So I used to live in the DC metropolitan area, and I moved to Miami in November. So I've been coming up on a year. I think I'm going to extend my lease and then do another year in the Miami area. But it's been cool. It's magical. It's much different than I would have expected before I moved down here. But like once you're here and you kind of like get into a flow state, it's like it's no different than living anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, and Miami seems awesome. And it's kind of like, just a nice, more chill vibe down there compared to up here. It's kind of like New York if it was like warm and nice all the time. I feel like it would be that type of vibe. I really like Miami. But I want to talk about you a little bit, Brycent. You're really cool. I really like what you do too. You were a Web 2 gamer, and then you're coming in and doing all this stuff in Web 3, and you've been absolutely killing the game. And, I just want to dive in a little bit before, Brycent was Brycent. Yeah. Like, what were you, I know you're pretty young still. So like, what were you doing? Like, what were you up to in high school? Were you gaming back then? Did you have any like career in your mind that you were kind of set out to do?
Yeah, in high school, I did game a ton. So I played basketball and soccer, and I always thought, oh my goodness, I was gonna like go to college and be a lawyer. So, after high school, I did go to college. I was still gaming, trying to go pro in different games. Obviously, I was never good enough, but tried and failed at YouTube multiple times, and got to the point where I was like, all right, well, we're gonna take a backseat from gaming, just go through college, deal with life. It was cool. Graduated, ended up getting a degree in political science, but I wanted to get into technology. I thought it was cool, and the pay was a lot better than like me going to law school for 3 or 4 years and going even further in debt. So I taught myself how to code, and I became a software engineer like a year later. And it was crazy because I went from like making like 30 grand a year to making like 140 over the course of like a year and a half time span. And it was, yeah, it was pretty nuts. So I had a ton of free time after like work. And I was like, yo, I want to do something that is literally just fuck all. I'm going to like just have fun. So I got back into gaming. And yeah, I think maybe a week and a half later, I saw there was a podcast I was listening to for Axie Infinity at the time. And it put me down this entire Web3 gaming rabbit hole. I realized there weren't that many people making content and was like, all right, I'm doubling down on this. I'm going to like really hone in on how do I become like a Web3 gamer and all that cool stuff. And that was a year and about 4 or 5 months ago. And, you know, we're a year and a half in and it feels like the craziest journey of my life. I'm full-time in Web3. I'm a founder of a startup. So we raised $5 million back in December of last year with Delphi Digital. And yeah, half my day is content creator. The other half is CEO.
Whoa, Brycent. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's so much to unpack there. So you were, playing IRL games. So you were actually physically out there on the field doing soccer and basketball. Did you want to go pro and do that at some point? Or you just knew like that was kind of just like a high school type thing and you were going to move on from there?
Well, I did want to go pro in like basketball, but I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, which is like, I would say pretty good height.
Oh, you tower over me.
Yeah, but I'm not tall enough to like, I mean, the point guards in the NBA are like 6'5". So it's like after a while, it's like if you're not like incredibly good, that dream sails away very quickly. So, wow. I mean, you got to have like backup plans and ideas about what can you really do outside of sports. So, I mean, gaming was always like a fun pastime. My mother used to take me to like go to gaming events and conferences as a kid. I used to compete. So it was like I already had that kind of in the back of my mind that, okay, we could always do something in gaming on the side. And that's how I really dove in. But the Web3 thing was a complete surprise. Like I had tried at gaming and YouTube and all this stuff like maybe 5 or 6 times previously and had no success. But there was just this one time where something went right and I just like stuck with it, kept doubling down. And yeah, that's how we got here.
Was your first YouTube channel for gaming or was this something else that you were kind of trying to hit a different niche?
So my first one was for gaming. And then like, I didn't really have the money to get like really good equipment to game. So like it ended up fizzling out. But my next one after that, I was actually into like fashion and sneakers. I used to like sell expensive pairs of rare Air Jordans for like thousands of dollars and flipping them. So I had a YouTube channel on that. I tried vlogging. I mean, I feel like I've tried everything under the YouTube sun, but then like, it was like, okay, this Web3 gaming world. And, then it was like, all right, well, you've like become really known on Twitter for this category. And now I'm like, all right, how do we just keep growing even in a bear market and put ourselves in a position where we can help bring new people into the category?
Exactly. I like your thinking. I like your thinking. And your mom was bringing you to gaming events. And this was while you were in high school and college still?
Yeah, we did a ton of events.
This reminds me of like me and my dad going to crypto conferences. Like that's so awesome. And your parents were kind of like on board with you just kind of ditching like the traditional, like I guess 9 to 5 and just going in with content creation. I mean, especially she understood like, the power of gaming, that there were actual people meeting up and doing tournaments in real life.
No, for sure. And I mean, I don't even know how far I would have been able to make it in gaming had she not been like, all right, I'm going to like really support your gaming endeavors. There were some nights where I would game from the time that she went to work, came home, cooked dinner, went to work the next day. So, I mean, I was just like a career gamer at that point. Just I wasn't getting paid anything back then.
Wow. And when you finally, kind of sat down and were like, I'm going to try YouTube one more time. Like what made you take that step that were like, okay, I'm going to try it again. And this is how I'm going to do it.
Well, it's crazy. It was actually Twitter that started popping off first. I made one YouTube video about like Axie Infinity and how you can get started and all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
And, I built up a really sick following on Twitch. Like at one point I was averaging like 5,000 viewers a stream, which was absurd. Wow. And very much a thing where it's like, yeah, that can last for a little bit of time, but until you like longevity is what you want more so than the actual ups and downs. So, I mean, of course, like you get to a certain point and it fizzles out. But, I think that like, it was just something that was unexpected. But once I found like my own thunder, I just stayed super consistent at like trying to double down on that approach of how you grow an audience. And then also understanding that you can't just rely solely on content, like get into investing, get into picking up tokens for, games and projects that you believe in long-term and help them grow and build. And that's where you really start seeing the larger gains.
Absolutely. And when did you first find out about crypto? At what point? I know it was probably like a year and a half ago, right? Like, how did you first hear about it? Was it through Twitter or?
Yeah, it was April 2021, and it was through a podcast that called, it's a Suffermion podcast hosted by Andrew Steinwald. He has like a NFT hedge fund where they invest in like
Oh,
Web3 projects.
I've
And
heard of him.
yeah, so he was doing this really cool like interview with this guy named Karush AK, who's like another big crypto DeFi guy, like legend in the space. I'm friends with both of them now, but it ended up being a thing where I was like, okay, well, this is super interesting. And they were like, oh, this is like Pokemon on the blockchain. So I was like, all right, I'll take it seriously and dive down that rabbit hole. And then I just realized, okay, like there's so many other Web3 games that I can get into. So it was just a really cool early kind of entry and then kind of just rocket ship growth from there.
Yeah, I mean, 5,000 people watching you on Twitch. How often were you doing these streams? And like, I'm sure I was looking at your YouTube channel. You have like 40,000 subs, but I saw you
Yeah.
post something saying that that's not even like the one you're focusing on right now, that channel. Is it a different one now?
Yeah. So I created like a YouTube Shorts channel that I keep like completely private, just because I wanted to actually test. I wanted to see like, okay, so how does viewership happen in gaming, and like what are people actually looking at? So I mean, it's a month old, and the YouTube Shorts channel actually like completely dwarfs my main channel's viewership by like a crazy margin. I think I did 10,000 views last month on my main channel with like 40K subs, and then the YouTube Shorts channel did like 180,000 views with like on 300 subs in the same time frame. So I've been really
Whoa.
doubling down on short form content over the long form stuff.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube Shorts are absolutely taking over. I know they're pushing them a little bit more. I mean, short form content is absolutely taking over, and it's like you got to edit, really good. You got to get like the captions on the video because everyone likes to read their
Yeah.
videos now, and it's like it's so much like to keep up with, but it's really good stuff because I feel like the short videos, it's you just get your information and you move on.
No, for sure. And it's the thing of like, people have very short attention spans. No one wants to sit and
Absolutely.
watch a 3 hour, 4 hour, like, or not even that long, but people don't even want to watch 10-minute YouTube videos anymore. If you can get someone to watch you for 10 minutes and like watch the whole thing, it's exceptional. Me getting someone to watch 10 seconds, chances of that go up and like are increasingly high, especially for gaming content. So that's what really led to the shift. Now I'll still make
Yeah.
long form content every now and then, but I very much focus my energy on how do I take short form content and use it as like the primary growth trajectory for like where my channel goes.
Absolutely. And how often do you stream nowadays? Since I know you're really busy now and you're like, going off into stardom, but how often do you
Yeah.
stream now?
So I'll still stream 4 times a week. So most of my streaming is done on Twitch, but I've been coming increasingly more interested in what streaming looks like on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting world, and it seems like that's where the entire space is going. So I definitely like feel like there's room for more growth there.
Absolutely. If you kind of look at the gaming niche in general, there's not too many streamers in like Web2 gaming as it is. I mean, there's a lot, but not that many compared to like, like the fashion influencers or like
Yeah.
the vlogger type content. And now you have, NFT gaming, which is like, crypto is a small niche to begin with. Then it's like NFTs, and then like NFT gaming is like this big. We're so early. Like, how did you like, I don't know, because there's just not a lot of people here. How did you like decide to hone in on this? Because this is just like so new.
Yeah. Well, I would just say a lot of it had like, I saw that market where it was like, okay, no one's streaming or talking about these games.
It's
And then
so
like,
insane.
yeah. And then, I mean, you have a couple creators. You have like myself, probably On-Chain Gaming, Kagi, Hustlepedia, Professor. There's like 5 or 6 of us. But it's like the style of content that we all make is different and kind of our focal points. So
Yeah.
my thoughts were, this is going to be a big gaming category. And if no one is taking it seriously, I'm going to take it seriously, because if you're at the forefront of it, no Web2 streamer is going to come in and risk their entire audience for a Web3 game. But if you're one of the streamers that's really putting out good content and like people like it, these streamers and these people are going to be more interested in working with you, because you're like their I would say safe entry into the space without looking scammy or anything. So it ended up being a thing where I was like, okay, I know that there's room to grow in this, and staying on top of how you build in a very organic way, and then also like bring other people to the space in an organic way was my focus.
I mean, NFT gaming. I mean, what do you think is like, the best thing about NFT gaming, especially because I feel like there's just such a resistance between people that, are in Web2 gaming, and they're just not gravitating towards this field, and I just don't understand why.
I think the biggest kind of takeaway, or like why the gravitation hasn't happened, is just based on how people find and consume the space. I think a lot of it is very like based on, oh, you see creators making content, oh, this is going to 100x, or you should buy this token for, XYZ reason. But the true long-term sustainability of how the space gets to a point where people actually want to be a part of it, it involves like all of us like taking a concerted effort to creating good content that is like very much focused on the actual games. Like, I mean, if you would have told me 5 years ago, you can pay $700 to get access to the early stage of Call of Duty, I'd have been like, fuck off. It's like, it doesn't make sense to do that. So,
yeah.
When we think about how you bring in the next wave of gamers, of course, you need very good games. But on top of that, you need very good creators that make people feel like they're learning about these games in an open, honest, and transparent way. And I would say that's been lacking, but the very good games has been lacking, or more so. And then plus you have like Steam and Minecraft, all these people banning NFTs. So it just makes adoption much harder.
Exactly. Why would they ban NFTs? I mean, especially because a lot of them are kind of doing their own type NFT feel to things without calling them NFTs and putting them on the blockchain where you could transfer assets to one person to another, but they're not calling them NFTs. You can't sell them on a secondary market. Do you think that this is going to be incoming? Do you think that, these traditional game studios are going to come into crypto eventually? I mean, I don't know. I think, if they don't jump into crypto, maybe they could be phased out.
I think eventually we will see them jump into crypto. We are incredibly early. So like, I'm so tired of saying the term, we're incredibly early, but it's also a thing of like, it's all business and money. So if it doesn't help their bottom line, if it's not like a money maker for them, what's the point? If you're making $1 billion a year and you don't have the pressure of an NFT or tokens or having to like deliver for an audience or make the value of an asset go up, why add that to your books? It's not an easy thing to do. And there's a reason why, because it's like at the end of the day, most people, you can't decipher from those who actually care about the project and those who are in it for the actual hope that it goes up in value. If, for example, everything is based on floor prices and things of that sort. So they're not easy to decipher. And if I'm Epic Games and I'm making $1 billion by not giving anyone ownership, I'd have to be making $5 to $10 billion to make it worth me giving them ownership, at least 5 to 10x, because the amount of pressure and conversations and things that are going to happen might make the stress not even worth the additional spend.
I mean, I see your point, because I mean, having the whole secondary market, them collecting royalties, like where the money's going, and making it affordable, I think is probably the biggest thing. I mean, for me, especially just like, being a teen, especially, I've been in this space for a few years. I think the barrier to entry for a lot of these NFT games are super high, because you need a $200 NFT just to play the game. You can't even try it out first. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, have you been playing these games that, you have to buy an NFT first, or?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't buy many gaming NFTs because I think that, not that they're stupid, but as a gamer, I'm like, I'm willing to wait to see a game actually happen before I invest a ton and like get my hopes up for nothing, because we've seen that so often in this space. But I do think like there has to be a freemium model at the very root level for most games, or even a model where there isn't a limited supply on an NFT. Like if I was going to launch a game, and like actually from the ground up say, okay, we have something ready for launch, why not have it to where you can mint an NFT at any time for like $50 to $100? Like, and at the end of the day, you can take that NFT and you can like level it up by doing different things in the game. But that NFT isn't like a single NFT. Like the NFT, like there's as much infinite NFTs can be minted as possible, but that NFT is your access to the game. And then the actions that you do result in upgrades and things that make the NFT more valuable, instead of it being, oh, well, you just mint a certain amount of these and a certain audience has access. At the end of the day, if you don't reach millions of users, your game's going to die eventually. So it's like, how do you get to that point?
Exactly. 100%. I think, there should be, I think if anything, it should be like a $10, $15 entry where, you could mint an infinite supply and then just kind of like work your way up from there. I think that's kind of how you start in a lot of other Web 2 games as well. I mean, what do you think is like, in Web 2 or Web 3, I guess this could apply. What do you think is like something worthy in a game? Like what attracts you to a certain game?
Well, I think that for myself, I need games that are fun and create memeable experiences, because I enjoy content, whether it's me watching it or making it. Like I enjoy good content. So it has to be something that I can play and jump into and be like, oh, wow, this is a lot of fun. This is a vibe. Like we're all having a good time. And like that's the baseline. I think beyond that, then you look at, okay, once you have a good game, how is that game being marketed? What are the actual in-game progressions that make someone want to be addicted to it? So if I'm playing like, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, I'm completely connected to the fact that it is an overly competitive game. And my ability to be good at the game requires practice or skill. And that skill is based on the ranking. So my ranking is higher if I'm good at the game because, I go up ranks, and that puts me closer to feeling like, okay, maybe one day I can go pro. I'll never go pro probably, but just the thought that this could be a potentially like relevant thing has a lot of value that I think a lot of people fail to realize. So competitive nature is very important to some of these games.
I agree with that 100%. There was a game I was trying out and I'm kind of addicted to at the moment. And it's because I really just want to win. And that's it. Like, I just really want to win the game. And I think just bringing like that Candy Crush feel or that Flappy Bird feel. Do you remember Flappy Bird when that came out? People were throwing their phones against the wall. And they had to take it off the App Store because people were getting so angry at the game. I'm not saying we should.
It was crazy.
That was so wild. But I'm not saying we should go this level where we should go throw our phones and our computers against the wall. But I do think we need a game that is going to encapsulate us and bring that adoption. I think maybe, I don't know if you agree, one banger of a game that people love and are addicted to that just brings the whole gang in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think we will get there eventually. It's just like with anything. These things take time. It takes the right amount of cultivation. And you need to have that virality effect eventually enter the space where people are like, okay, this is sick. I want to be a part of this. I want to double down on this. I enjoy this ecosystem. I think for the most part, we're missing a lot of it. And there's a lot of pieces that need to be interconnected. But it takes time. There's no overnight solution to really finding that like answer out. But I think as we grow and the space matures and the bad games get weeded out, we'll 100% get there.
And when you think about, just certain games, things that are just popping up out of nowhere, what's one thing you would like to see in a game in the Web3 space? What do you think is something that maybe people are missing here?
I think at the very root, we're missing just different styles of games. Like we need a really strong mobile game. We need a really strong MMO that's like RuneScape that you can play on your computer. We need a really strong competitive game. Like I think the space is just very open for anyone who wants to build something cool.
Yeah.
But the builders can't focus on tokenomics. Like I think any game dropping a token before they reach a point of like true sustainability is like egregious. And if you are going to drop a token because you're raising money to say, okay, we want a community backed game, then guess what? At the launch of that game, you need to have staking as soon as that token launches. Like, how can you tell me you're going to launch a token that has governance and it's 2 years later and I don't see any staking? Oh, so that token is going to have governance when you decide it's governance, but you didn't have any problem taking my money 2 years ago and letting me know eventually. Like, so I think we need to see more forward-facing execution around the responsibilities of what tokens are supposed to have.
Absolutely. This is something I've been saying for a while. We need a better way for these games to get funded. And I understand, the whole premise behind a community-backed game, but at the same time, like, no, I feel like you should have your funding, get your game, then, put out your NFTs once the game is out and say, hey, like, at least buy this NFT, get into the game, or just get into the game, earn these NFTs. And then if you want to do more stuff in the game, here, buy our token. Oh, you can stake it. I think that's the way it should go down. I think the other way is just a little... I don't want to say shady, but because some people are doing it and it's not. But at the same time, I lack the trust in that type of strategy.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Imagine like it's like you investing in something and not having any say in what happens with it, or you and your friends starting a company. You put in a certain amount of money, but that money doesn't get you anything but a seat at the table to watch other people make decisions for you, whether it's for the good or bad. I think ultimately there can't be a world where people launch tokens with the expectation of things happening later. Like, for example, and this is like multiple games. I like Illuvium because Illuvium has like some sort of governance. But I mean, if you look at Axie Infinity, they launched their AXS token has been out, 2 years now or a year and a half or something like that?
Yeah.
Something crazy. And the idea was, oh, we're going to have governance eventually. But I mean, when does eventually happen? Do the founders get to decide when the world is like ripe enough to have the responsibility to vote on shit?
Oh my God.
like imagine if your president told you, yeah, we're suspending voting for now and we'll bring it back at a later date when we think you're responsible enough to handle that God-given right as a US citizen. That's absurd to me. I put my own money and I don't even get to vote. And it's not just Axie. There are tons of games that tote these tokens that will say, oh, you'll have staking. Okay, well, when you decide you want to put the token out, give me staking then. So I have a say in what's being built. So I have some sort of say in how the governance and the structure of this works. Very similar to ApeCoin. When they announced ApeCoin, I think it was maybe 3 to 4 months later, or maybe it was sooner, that they had actual governance out there in the world and people could vote. We need to see that level of due diligence and that level of like execution from games. And until that happens, it's always going to be a thing where people feel like underserved and underrepresented.
Absolutely, 100%. You are dropping absolute alpha right now. It's so important. I think a lot of, games need to take note and, just make this barrier to entry a little bit lower, make it all a little bit more transparent. I mean, even with the roadmaps, though, I don't know if you've, NFTs got really hot. I mean, winter of 2020, kind of like, and it was just like, a lot of people, especially when I started, put out these crazy roadmaps. Like, it was insane. Like, every week there was a new project. Oh, we're going to do this. We have this roadmap for 4 years. A lot of them have faded. I don't know where more than half these projects are. And a lot of them can't fulfill their roadmap, which also takes in the part of the market, right? Like, a lot of these people, even with these tokens, they're taking all this money for the token and they have all these plans, but then if the market takes a turn, then they disappear because they don't have the funds or the liquidity anymore.
Exactly. And what does that result into long term? I mean, it results into
we're holding the bag.
Yeah, we're holding the bag. Money is being drained out of the NFT space as a whole. And ultimately, yes, a couple of people get rich on the backs of those retail gamers that are going to be the ones that would play these games a long term anyway. Imagine a world where you enter a gaming ecosystem, you put your money in, that immediately goes to zero. You're not going to want to touch that sort of a game again because it's not about the fact of the action. It's about how that action made you feel. You put trust into a place and you felt completely betrayed. That would make me not want to touch another NFT again. It scars a lot of people, and a lot of people go through that same kind of, negative like moment where they're like, wow, I never want to touch this again because I lost money. Now you have to keep going and stuff like that. But those are the moments we should be trying to stay away from.
Yeah, and someone's like in the chat that you commented back at that one of the games their gameplay wasn't really that fun, and you know what, that's one of the biggest game to pop off. So it's like that was that type of gameplay. Imagine what other people can do and where this space is going to go. Like, we're way too early. Like, we're so early.
Absolutely. And then, I think someone else put into the chat, 99% of games die. We have been playing the same 10 games for the past 20 years. I mean, to their point, they're absolutely correct.
They are right.
How many games are on Steam right now that are incredible games that have no user bases, games you've never heard of, games you probably never will hear of because gaming is one of the most competitive markets. If you hit and strike gold, it's amazing, but most people won't strike gold. No different than I guess it was the San Francisco gold rush of like the 1840s in California, where people were going out there with like picks and shovels and trying to find gold. Okay, you might have had the occasional guy who found gold, but most people ended up losing money on that sort of endeavor.
We all have to be careful. We all have to do our own research. If you hear that in the chat, friends, do your own research. It is pretty accurate, though. Like, my cousins still play Call of Duty, Fortnite, like everything that's just been out and been consistent. And I think, regardless if those big games get into crypto, there's going to be one banger. Like, I know it. I feel it. It's coming soon. I think even a good game, I think, could cause a little bit of a bull market. You know what I mean? Just because of the level of adoption that it can pull.
Yeah, I think so as well. And, there's some games that I look at and I'm like, okay, there's some cool things here. Like, earlier today, I picked up a really, and this isn't like financial advice, I picked up a sizable bag. I think it's been like $3 or $4 grand on the Undead Blocks token. Because I think their gaming ecosystem could be huge one day, and they really are starting to strike gold and really hone in on what that user looks like and how they increase that retention over time. But I'm excited to see more of these different gaming studios find their footing and then find their niche audience and stop focusing on Web3 gaming as a category and focus on the genre of gaming that they're actually targeting, because that's where you're going to find who your users are across Web2 and Web3. And that's also where you're going to find what your ultimate long-term solution looks like for creating a sustainable gaming ecosystem.
Absolutely. Please, guys, focus on everybody. I think, that's a really good point as well. A lot of people in the gaming space and NFT gaming specifically, they only focus on the people in crypto. They need to focus on the other friends, so that way they just educate them as they're playing the game, which I think is essential as well, just that education. What do you think is one thing that like we could do to educate, you know, the traditional gamers or just people in general about, you know, crypto gaming, NFT gaming?
I think the first one is to like share content with them that isn't related to NFTs. Like I'm so tired of hearing people like pitch to Web2 gamers about NFT ownership. Dude, they don't give a damn about that. And I also don't blame them for not giving a damn about it, because at the end of the day, it isn't something that's going to substantially push the needle forward. Ownership should be a byproduct of playing an amazing game. Like when I play Valorant or CSGO, I love the skins I have. And I buy new skins without caring because they are exceptional games with exceptional IPs. And ultimately, that's what we need to see across the space: exceptional games, exceptional IPs, and then you can tell, oh, I own this. I sold this skin I bought for $10 or $10,000 3 years later. Like the original season 1 Fortnite skins, if you could sell them now, they'd be selling for tens of thousands of dollars. They're so popular.
Exactly. And Miggy said it in the chat: gameplay, lore, and community should be priority. Absolutely. Absolutely. Without those three, then you don't have a project.
For sure, 100%. And I think we'll get to the point where, and we're starting to see it, where the evolution of gaming is changing from people sending white papers out and pretending they can project what tokenomics are supposed to look like in the future, and into gaming ecosystems where the gameplay is a true deciding factor and where the overall ecosystem of that community goes. But we need to continue doubling down on that and not kind of sit and rest on our laurels, because ultimately games need to have a set requirement for this. And also, you know, if you're going to have tokens, managing them in a very transparent and open way.
100%. We need, again, we're just so early that it's hard to define like what the right way is. But I think once, you know, I think especially the mainstream, they're waiting for us little guys to figure it out, like the undead blocks of the gaming industry, to figure it all out. So that way, when they're ready, the mainstream comes in and they're like, all right, guys, we got it. This is what we're doing. This is the game we have, and it's a banger. That's just what's gonna happen there. That's what I've been saying since the start about NFTs. I've been minting NFTs since November 2020, and I was seeing people just create all these concepts using the blockchain. And then all of a sudden, when they worked, the mainstream got in and they were like, oh, you know, like we're going to drop this NFT. We're going to do this and do that. But I saw my friend do that first. You know what I mean?
For sure. And ultimately, I'm sure it's the same with you. Like when you're trying to convince your friends and also the younger generation that, oh, the crypto is where the world is going. Stop just putting every dollar in fiat. Like, what are some of like the big kind of pushbacks that you get from people? And now that you're a lot bigger, because I know this was an issue I had when I first started out, people looked at me and were like, oh my goodness, why are you tweeting about this stupid game or these stupid NFTs? And then like when I popped off, now it's like those same people are like, oh, well, maybe he was onto something.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, it was a mix from so many people. It was like, you know, the friends I had in high school, they just thought I was really crazy. They were like, why are you talking about this? And I would try to explain it. They didn't want no part. Then I would have teachers telling me Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, delete your Twitter. Then I would have, you know, family saying that, you know, Bitcoin's never going to make it. I had a family member yelling at me. Like, it was like when Bitcoin was around 12K. And they were like, you know, arguing with me saying Bitcoin's never going to 50. You know, it's going to die. I sold at 10.5. I'm like, all right, bro. And then, you know, things turned around. Less than a year after graduating, I went back to my high school to teach 2 investing classes about Bitcoin.
Wow,
a lot
that's
of those,
huge.
Thank you. That was back in May. And then a few other kids that were making fun of me reached out and said, I have to do some research about Bitcoin for school. Can you help me? So it's a turnaround for sure. And it's only just because, you know, they saw me talking about it when nobody else was talking about it. They just didn't understand. So that's how their reactions were. Now it's like, oh, they see what I'm doing, but they also hear about Bitcoin a lot more often. Now, Bitcoin, ever since I started, when I started, Bitcoin wasn't even 10K. I was talking to kids about Bitcoin in my school when it was like $7,000. And I was Brycent, I swear to God, I was walking around the hallways asking people, can I give you $10 in Bitcoin? Can I give you Bitcoin? People wouldn't take it from me.
Are you serious? That's
I swear.
insane.
There was a video I did in like November 2020 or 2021. I was outside my school and I gave one kid that was running for president like $10, and now he's like, whatever Bitcoin goes up, he texts me. But yeah,
that's so sick. I'm so glad that like, and we need like more moments like that where people are just like, all right, I'm gonna go out and put money and like offer you things. Like I know for myself, when I first started playing NFT games, I would just give people gaming NFTs and say, go play this. Just go play it. Let me know what you think. If it's bad, I don't care if it's bad or good. Just give me your opinion. And like
Yes.
just continuing to like cultivate very grassroots, because that's how you really build rapport with people.
Exactly. That's how I got into crypto. My dad was just like, okay, let me just do a Bitcoin transaction with you. Just see how it works. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, all you got to do is scan a QR code, copy, paste an address. Like, that's it. I could walk into a store, they scan my phone, and I leave.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. I don't want to carry those pennies around. I don't want to carry a wallet around, which I kind of don't anymore. Got tap and pay too. So, crazy. I was telling people before it happened that PayPal was going to integrate like Bitcoin, Litecoin, ETH. People called me crazy, and then it happened.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It's crazy. My grandmother actually buys all of her Ethereum on PayPal, and
I'm
she'll
dead.
message me every now and be like, my Ethereum it says I've made like $300. I'm about to be a millionaire. I said, Grandma, just keep DCAing into it over time. You'll do very well.
yeah, exactly. DCA. That's what I've been saying to people a lot lately. People are like, "Oh, did you buy the top?" I'm like, "Yeah, technically I did buy the top because I dollar cost average, and I just insert a certain amount of money a week, and I'm just like getting my position in there. But at least your grandma's getting in there. Like you have your grandma in this. How did you get your grandma into crypto?
What's interesting? She at first she didn't believe in it too much. Before like things in the gaming space really took off and I did it full time. I lived in my grandmother's basement as a software engineer. And she saw my entire growth go from college to software engineer, making, very good money, to crypto founder, to, where I am now. And it was like, as she saw it, she was just like, wow, like this could be the future. So she started really just like saying, okay, well, if my grandson's doing this and he's doing pretty well, I'll stick with it. So, same thing with my parents. Like I tell them all the time to, get into it. I know my mom and my dad, they buy it quite often. So it's been cool to see them kind of like get into different cryptocurrencies, and they always tell me about different cryptocurrencies their friends tell them about. But my dad's a big Ethereum guy. So I'm glad when we talk, sometimes he'll be talking about Ethereum and some other stuff.
That's great. I feel like Ethereum is like the dad coin of it all. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I went to the park the other day in the city, and I was interviewing people. I was doing those on the street interviews, and this girl was like, "Oh yeah, my dad just won't shut up about this Ethereum." Like he's like, "Oh, Ethereum this, Ethereum that." So I think Ethereum is the dad coin. I think all the dads like ETH.
No, I mean, I agree with you. And I understand why, because Bitcoin to me is like the true store of value.
Yes.
But when I think of Ethereum, I think this is where applications in the future will live. And when I try to explain it to people who are in tech but not into crypto, I say, this is Amazon Web Services or AWS, or like the decentralized world. You can create apps on it. You can send things, you can receive things. Most of the large apps in the world run on AWS. Every large app in crypto will most likely run on Ethereum. Now, Solana's like a big player in the space too, but I don't think they catch Ethereum.
I don't know. Solana breaks down. So that scares me.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
and that makes me sad a little bit, because there's so many good games on Solana. Like, holy freaking, oh my gosh. So many good games on Solana, yet you can't really rely on the network. So that's what scares me a little bit. I'm worried. Like, what if Solana has a bad happening, and then what happens to all these games and all the assets? It's just, poof.
No, I totally agree.
I don't know.
We'll see what happens long term, though. I'm hoping that at the end of the day, we never run into a situation where these assets on these blockchains that aren't, as I would say, safe, get destroyed, because I think it just every time a hack or something like that happens, it kills the credibility of crypto as a whole.
Yeah, it really it holds us back a little bit. Like it's especially because the mainstream media takes it and runs with it.
Oh my goodness!
Oh
Yes.
my lordy, it's so hard watching the mainstream media, because the things they say hurt my feelings, and I'm like, I just can't anymore. Like, you'll have Jim Cramer go on CNBC and say like crypto's not even worth reporting on. He never wants to report it again, or something like that. And I'm just like, bro, it's okay. You bought huge property with Bitcoin, and now you want to talk about it. But anyway. Overall, though, with all of these things we've discussed, can NFT gaming go mainstream?
I think it can. I don't think it'll happen in the sense of the people caring about the whole NFT word, but I think that the category of games and ownerships will eventually like outlast traditional gaming. It might take 5 to 10 years. I might be like not even making NFT gaming videos by the time it happens, but it will end up going mainstream, because that's where things happen. Technology eats the world. And overall, 10 years ago, people would have thought that short form content would have beat out long form content. People also would have never thought, like 20 years ago, that you'd have a phone that where you can access the internet and play music and all these different things on what we call now apps. But technology eventually changes, it revolutionizes and makes our lives easier. And right now, I don't think crypto makes gaming easier. Over time, I think it will. But when that time period does come, it'll take just a couple of really good games and we'll start to see a major shift.
Bryce, that was beautiful. I really like that.
Oh my goodness, you're flattering.
No, that was beautiful. I really liked it. And you're looking good today, Bryce, which makes me think of your shoot with Vogue, right? It was Vogue?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, tell me all about that. What was going on there? How was it?
Yeah, it was crazy. So G Money, who's like, he created this really dope like NFT fashion clothing, like this luxury fashion house for NFT clothing. And he was like, yo, I want you to like model in one of these. And, I didn't even know about the Vogue part at first. It was like after the shoot was actually done. And he was like, all right, well, we're going to post them as a part of our lookbook. And then like, I think a couple of days later, the Vogue issue came out and I was just like hype. I was like, wow, well, that's a cool thing to add to your resume unknowingly. Like, yeah. And in the whole Drake line, bitch, don't tell me that you model if you ain't been in Vogue. Now I can actually use that when I talk with all like the random people. They're like, oh, I'm a model. I'm like, me too. I've done it once, even though I look like a thumb.
No, not at all. Like, that was a really good shoot. Like, you guys were looking all serious and you were like, I really liked it. It was very, chic. I know there were some other crypto people there as well at the shoot.
Yeah.
So like, you didn't know that it was like for Vogue. None of them knew, or it was just like you all were there for some random thing.
No, we were just there for G Money because it was his NFT line, but we didn't. Yeah. I don't think anyone had any idea that it was going to actually be in Vogue.
Wow, that's super cool. What was the day of the shoot like? You want to like walk us through a day in the life of a Vogue model?
Oh my God. So it was like they rented out this really sick house in like Miami and not Miami, LA and Beverly Hills. Tons of food and makeup and stylists, like things that I would have never expected. Like, and we just shooting all day for like 5, 6, 7 hours. They gave us dinner, paid us to be out there and doing it. So it was just like, wow, this is like a super serious thing. But I wouldn't have expected it. But I'm like, now I'm doing really cool stuff behind the scenes, trying to work on more like similar opportunities because I love fashion. I love, doing things that are outside of the gaming realm, even though I spend most of my time at this desk, even though I live in Miami, I don't get to the beach that often.
Yeah, I feel you 100%. I live like right by like, a really nice spot. Everyone goes outside. There's always people there. And I'm like at my computer like a nerd, but it's okay.
Just jamming out.
Yeah, it'll pay off though. Like one day, like we'll be able to touch more grass and whatever. But right now we need to grind and we need to just do what we're doing. And I'm really happy for you. Like just everything you've been doing, the grind you've had. Especially, being a Vogue model. And also, you were really popping at NFT NYC. I remember you were going to all these parties. I was seeing pictures and you spoke and you made a really good point during your speech. I saw a few clips of that. Do you want to talk about NFT NYC, what you were up to over there?
Yeah, so I spoke. That was my first like really large keynote. So they gave me like my own 10-minute keynote. I didn't have to speak on a panel with anyone, which I thought was like super sick because I was like, when you get on a panel, sometimes you don't know who you're jamming out with and they throw you on that. So I was like, this time I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do it, like, let me get a 10-minute keynote. Let me talk about some dope shit. So I just talked about like the problems with Web3 gaming. It's on my main YouTube channel if anyone wants to check it out. But it was a lot of fun. And then outside of that, I hosted a meet and greet. I hosted like a morning breakfast meet and greet. So I had like 2 different meet and greets, a couple interviews, and just really cool party. Blanco's threw a party. And the Chainsmokers performed there. I'm actually like, I know those guys pretty well. So it was cool to see them again. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like almost like, it felt like I'm a rock star sometimes. And I'm like, oh, you haven't come that far yet. You got a long ways to go. So I've just been trying to stay and keep my head down throughout the bear market and grind. Because I think like ultimately, a lot of people fail to realize that the long-term grind that you put in, the consistent hours, you're not trying to hit home runs every day. You want to hit single. And then eventually you hit your home run or you hit a couple of them. And it's like, all right, that was a byproduct of you just putting in the time, energy, and effort every day to accomplish something great. And the more that you just stay consistent with that grind, the more often you're going to see wins. I don't think anyone is like cut out for one thing or it's an idea of how you get lucky. It's you fail and you lose and you learn until you get it right. And then once you get it right, it's like you stay experimenting and iterating and figuring out how you do it over and over again. Even now, I'm like, I wake up sometimes, I'm like, fuck, I don't think I'm hitting the metrics I want to hit. And then I'll like, go back to the drawing board and really goal set and talk about what does execution look like to hit these goals. But that consistency is like the biggest thing. Even if you don't want to do something a day, the consistency, in my opinion, is like a form of self-love for yourself.
I agree 100%. And being a content creator, it's consuming, especially because you want to hit the algo, you want to keep posting every day. It's a lot on the mind. You got to have a schedule. It's a lot. And, I have a lot of respect for you, especially because you came in a year and a half ago and you were like, I am going to make it, and you did. You really and I know you're not nearly done yet, but you've done really, really well. And I have a lot of respect for you. So thank you for hanging out with me today and just taking the time out to just share your story and all of your opinions on the crypto space. And thank you to everyone in the chat that came. There's so many cool people today. Brycent, where can everybody find you? Because I have your Twitter, your YouTube, and your Twitch and Brycent.com in the description, but if you want to shout out everywhere for people to find you, because I'm sure I missed something.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me just at Brycent pretty much on any platform, and you'll find me. In some places there's an underscore behind it, but you'll be able to see I'm there. But not just me. Make sure you continue to bring people to the show. MTC is hosting an amazing show. We're in here and we're creating cool things, but if you want to see your favorite content creators grow, it's a byproduct of them creating cool content, and also you guys going out and helping them reach new audiences and bring new people in. I'm not here to just be like, oh my God, well, thank you guys for tuning in. It's great to have you on the show. Now go out and bring a friend that you think needs to learn more about crypto or learn more about how the future of the internet can change the way their life currently is. Bring them into the show to have some fun, vibe out. Even if they don't take anything educational from it, they can have a good moment to laugh and banter. But you guys are at the forefront of how creators grow and help communities grow. So you guys have to work very hard, just like we have to work hard in creating. You guys have to work hard and help us reach these audiences. And as a byproduct of that, you're going to see success in your own spaces. So that would be kind of my closing piece.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Brycent. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I'm going to be back tomorrow at the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, with another zesty guest. We're going to be talking about events, too, so it's going to be really fun. So, guys, please, if you're here, if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, share the stream out with friends, and after the stream is over, make sure to drop a comment and make sure you talk about what you enjoyed about this stream. If you think NFT gaming can go mainstream, what are your thoughts? Please let us know. Make sure to stay zesty, friends. Thank you, Bryce, for coming. I really appreciate you. Have a great day, everyone. See you tomorrow. And as always, stay zesty. Peace.
Good morning, crypto Twitter, it's Misty Crypto, spreading crypto with Dr. showing this benefit.